This episode is dedicated to the memory of Jim Findley. Ride on, Jim. Ride on.
And do you edit out parts like this?
Yeah. You have to be able to hang. You need to be able to ride in a peloton. You need to be able to ride in a pace line. You take down riders. I've ridden my bike over them because they screwed up in front of me in the pace line.
Hi, this is Wesley Cheney, and welcome to the 9th episode of Tell Me About Your Bike, the podcast about life, the universe, and the meaning of bicycling. In this episode, I take a ride with a fellow freaky fast bicycle delivery driver, Kyle Goshen, to discuss the challenges and rewards of riding a bike for the biggest bicycle delivery firm in North America, Jimmy John's. Actually, to be perfectly honest, I have no proof if Jimmy John's is the largest company employing bicycle couriers in North America, but I can't think of any other franchise sandwich shop or business that employs as many bike couriers as Jimmy John's does. The only one that comes close is Domino's, and even at Domino's, bicycle delivery is the exception to the norm, and only found in their most cosmopolitan markets. But I've got to give props to Domino's for expanding their electric bicycle fleet recently. It's now becoming more common in denser, more urban areas to see Domino's pizza being delivered on e-bikes. And it's pretty exciting to see more bikes in our neighborhoods. As we get used to seeing e-bikes and electric scooters and cars and trucks share the road, it will encourage more people to get on a bike and get where they're going with smiles on their faces. Jimmy John's has a very calculated marketing strategy. In the back of each Jimmy John's store, above the coat rack, is a metal poster explaining to employees that the delivery zone is kept small so that delivery times can be kept short, and that all sandwiches are made cold. Since all of the bread is already baked and there's no toasting, it's not uncommon for sandwiches to be delivered within 5 minutes of an order being placed. Quick delivery times like that are only possible because everyone at Jimmy John's is trained in how to complete their tasks quickly and efficiently. At its best, Jimmy John's is a well-oiled machine, and it's really satisfying to me to be part of a team like that. While I had the usual disagreements with my coworkers and the occasional grievance about the millions of dollars that the namesake Jimmy John was paid in comparison to the average workers, some of whom can legally be paid less than minimum wage, never mind a living wage, on the whole, I was pretty happy working for Jimmy John's. I liked sweating for my paycheck. I enjoyed cashing out my tips at the end of a shift and knowing that my speed and hard work had literally paid off. Before we listen to another episode of Tell Me About Your Bike, I need to explain why this episode is a little late coming out. Last Friday morning, I was settling down to a morning cup of coffee at my iPad, getting ready to make the final edits on this podcast. But then my phone rang, and my friend Laura Flowers asked me if I was available to go visit our mutual friend, Jim Findley, in the hospital. I got to know Jim while I was working as the manager of Pedego Norfolk. Jim was the first person to buy an electric bike from Pedego Norfolk, and he was a natural ambassador for electric bicycles. Jim loved talking about the freedom, fitness, and fun that he found on his Pedego e-bike. Jim retired from the U.S. Navy, and being a Navy veteran myself, I was able to connect with Jim over cups of strong, dark coffee. We would gripe about how civilians didn't know the value of hard work, and Jim would tell me about being called a baby killer and a warmonger when he'd returned from Vietnam. I don't know whether those things actually happened to Jim personally, or whether he was just expressing the zeitgeist of his generation, but it was true for Jim. Jim wore sleeves of tattoos, old-school sailor tattoos from Okinawa and Taipei and Sydney and Honolulu. Somewhere in that maze of faded blue lines that crisscrossed his arms and waist and legs was a busty mermaid and a sea turtle, a marker of when Jim crossed the equator on a diesel submarine. Old Glory and the stars and bars also adorned Jim's skin. Jim told me that I was raising my children well. He spoke proudly of his own son, Paul. And even though Paul was living on the other side of the country from Jim, Jim was still proud of him. They didn't see eye to eye on church, but then again, Jim didn't see eye to eye with almost anybody on church. He was a salty chief, unafraid of speaking his mind. Jim loved incense and high church, but he was also a staunch Episcopalian with a desire to distinguish himself from Roman Catholics. Jim loved a church service, and the highest praise that he could give me as a parent was that I was raising my children in the church. In his last summer, Jim bought a bike and a kilt. Jim's skinny knees poked out from underneath his kilt as he pedaled his Pedego electric bike past the Battleship, Wisconsin on the Elizabeth River Trail. I would be riding at the front of the line of e-bikers in my kilt, and Jim would be at the other end in his kilt. We were the two kilted bikers of Norfolk. Back at the shop, Jim and I talked for hours about bikes and kilts in the church in Norfolk. The Jim I knew was determined to enjoy life, whether it was season tickets to the Wells Theater or a nightly glass of whiskey. But Jim did not humor fools. On more than one occasion, Jim dropped off the back of my bike tour because he thought I was going too fast. Perhaps I was, if 12 miles per hour is too fast. Jim also had an abiding sense of safety. Like any sailor who after 20 years still has all their fingers and toes, Jim had learned to anticipate danger and to remove himself from that danger. "I won't ride next to her," he'd say. "She's a damn fool who won't put down her cell phone. Did you see? She almost ran into that dog." I last saw Jim on Friday. He was propped up in a hospital bed with an oxygen tube. Jim talked about his bike and his hi-fi stereo system. He didn't want to burden his family or friends with cleaning out his apartment or finding someone who would appreciate a Macintosh amplifier and Klipsch speakers. And that's when I told Jim about the Slover Library Sound Studio and that they would gladly take and use such a high-fidelity system. And Jim was relieved. A tension that had been straining his shoulders let go. And with the help of some palliative care, Jim was able to let go and pass on. So roll on, Jim. Roll on. I recorded this episode back in February in Norfolk with my co-rider Kyle Goshen. Kyle and I were consistently the fastest riders at Jimmy John's. In this first part of our conversation, we're riding around our delivery zone on our bikes, so you'll hear some street noise and squeaky chains. I haven't known many couriers who could keep their chain greased every mile. So let's listen now to our next episode of Tell Me About Your Bike. If we end up doing that.
Alright, I'll do my best to just.
Yeah, no
but
worries.
It definitely looks slow.
Alright, give that a shot right there.
Oh yeah, this is interesting.
From the south. So let's head to the north end of our territory,
Alright.
and then loop back down Collie, and then that way when the wind's to our back, we'll be riding through that way and going up Powhatan, and Powhatan should be a nice quiet ride.
Alright.
Less cars.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna try and keep you
In range.
pointed at, with the microphone pointed towards you.
Alright.
I'm listening for the wind rumble.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I was concerned about.
Yeah, and I think I'm gonna have better luck when the wind is to my back
Yeah.
than when it's in front of me. But because right now, I don't know. Well,
You see how it goes?
yeah, exactly.
Hey man, I'm down.
Yeah.
Is this thing going?
Yep, it's
Oh,
going.
what? Oh, I thought you were gonna cue it.
No, I'm going. It's rolling.
Oh my goodness, I thought you were doing around your stuff. Okay.
No, it's rolling. I'm listening to it right now.
Damn. Okay,
I
so you have
can't-
the input in your ear, and then
Little
I see
wave
that
recorder right
device.
here. Yeah.
Interesting.
Let's go across the bridge over here. That's gonna make for good audio. Yeah, that goes into a little wave recorder. Then I've also got the wave recorder has mics on it itself.
Yeah.
But the problem is it's so heavy that when it sits up here, it ends up making a lot of noise bouncing around.
Yeah. So you put in that nice bag and you paint it
Right.
back?
Well, and then I'm just using, instead of recording in stereo with that little run, which is really good, it's just recording in mono off the mic that's right here.
Yeah. Well,
And
hell,
it's
man.
okay. It's not fantastic audio, but it's decent enough.
How long you been recording like podcasts and stuff?
Oh, jeez.
What number are we on right now?
This will be, well, I haven't released any.
Oh, you haven't?
No. guy go by. Yeah, I haven't released any yet. I'm still in the process of producing them and trying to get like an idea for what it's gonna sound like.
And like tune it up, fine tune.
Yeah, I've done 6 or 8 recordings now. Let's take a right, go up to right up to Magnolia, and then take a right on Magnolia, because that's the north end of our territory.
Alright.
I haven't actually gotten it all done yet, but I'm starting to get a feel for like what I want it to sound like,
Yeah.
and the questions I want to ask, and I've been recording background music and doing some post-processing
Your own
effects. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I'm not doing it like Seth Rogen just kind of like just sits down and just talks for 3 hours.
Yeah.
Let's hit pause on this conversation until we get
Cars.
through the sidewalk. Well, it's that, and the sidewalk is bouncing my mic all around. I'm so happy we never have to deliver out here. Like, I said, I'm so happy we never have to actually deliver up here. Like,
Come out here today, actually.
it's pretty rare.
Yeah, no, it is good. And I was listening to some music and ended up driving way past Magnolia.
Oh, jeez. Yeah, I've done that once or twice.
I was in my own head.
I mean, those signs are so small, it's easy to miss it. I think she thought we were going straight, even though I signaled right.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you for yielding. All right, I'm going to stop for a second. I think I tweaked some wires. There we go. Okay. That should be a little bit quieter. Just picking up a little bit of rustle. So turn this around. Path of least resistance, like that. Float like that. There we go. Buckle it back up. There we go. And no. Now, I think it's gonna stay in place. There we go. That looks better.
Looks sturdy.
It could be better, but I've been trying to set up my bike so that I could record more sound on this.
What, would you get more microphones or?
Well, no, but I mean, you can. There's
you put
there's
shields and stuff?
yeah, you
Like
can
what?
do it, but I mean, honestly, I get using just like this right here. I can often get pretty good stuff.
Yeah.
But like today, with just the wind, is going to be a hard day to get anything good. And then the other thing is just like learning how to set up my bike so that it's less likely to rattle and create unwanted sound.
I see what you're saying. Man, develop a little suspension system for your.
Well, then that creates more sound. So that's why like these Pat tires
Yeah.
are pretty good for damping everything.
Yeah.
Now suspension, you just hear squeak, 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 squeak.
This is our territory right here?
Yeah, we go out to here, man. But I mean, we occasionally get deliveries to the condos over here on the right.
Yeah. The farthest I've gone is like the Aardvark area.
And then St. Patrick's School, we go there.
Yeah. Oh, that's that.
Yep.
Yeah.
But usually we're coming down bowling right here, going to Larchmont Elementary and St. Patrick's Catholic School.
Today was a good day.
Yeah, it looked like you were staying busy.
Finally some sun.
It was sunny and busy.
Wind killed me.
I know, oh my gosh, that wind is terrific today.
How many? So do you have gears on that? That you switch? You're able to switch gears?
Yeah.
Okay. Sam was thinking you didn't have gears, but
No, I do.
oh, okay. I see where you switch.
I mean, I got front and rear.
Yeah.
I just don't use the front one very much at all.
Yeah. Man, I thought I would be dead without some gears.
In fact, I mean, I had the front one locked into the big chain ring for 4 months.
So what gave you the idea to set it up like this?
You mean this bike?
No, the podcast itself to like.
So there's a couple of podcasts about biking that I've really loved over the years. And there was one that I started listening to it about 12 or 15 years ago, called Bikescape.
Yep.
Have you heard that one?
No, but
Okay. You would have to get like into the Wayback Machine to find Bikescape these days. But it was this guy out of San Francisco, and he was really involved with the critical mass movement. And he was just doing some really great interviews and stuff. Like sometimes he'd be talking about bike commuting with his family to elementary school, and then other times I'll talk after this traffic goes by. I'll hit pause on that.
and do you edit out parts like this?
Yeah.
Okay.
Although I may end up using them just as background sound.
I
Like
was
right.
trying to say the cars passing and stuff.
Yeah, it depends. Like there's a good sound right now out of my cranks going around in the pedal.
Yeah.
And I can hear like a little bit of the squeak of my leather saddle. And that's the kind of background noise that I like to put in.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
And I did a lot of recording when I was up in Alaska
Yeah.
working with the other bike guides. And so the way our day was set up, we would spend about a quarter of our day just riding around in a 14-passenger van, like
Man,
driving
cruising?
empty up the mountain to go lead tours. So I would end up, well, it's not quite right. If you had the right tour, you would end up 20% of your time being empty. But there'd be other tours where so on average you were probably more like 5 or 8% of your time was empty. But this one you would do it all the time. But anyway, we would have these 30-minute drives up out of the Alaskan fjord over the mountain pass into Yukon.
Oh, and that's
That
what
was a close one. And so I would just, I just set up this microphone in the van, between the seats, and it would just start asking questions.
I didn't even hit that. Pedals are terrible.
Yeah, so that's the podcast. It's just so Bikescape, San Francisco.
Yeah.
Great show. And the guy quit doing it about 10 years ago, and I ended up like archiving them all. Like I've still got them in my iTunes library because they were that good.
Yeah.
And then there's another guy.
He stopped doing them 10 years ago?
Yeah,
He's ahead of his time, huh?
he was. I mean, he wasn't making any money off of it or anything. But
Yeah.
I remember like writing him like 2 years after he stopped and being like, dude, I hope you get back to it because that was great stuff. Like, there was really good stories you were telling. All right, so we could go like all the way down Collie and under the bridge to 21st Street.
Alright.
Honestly, In terms of audio quality, I think we might as well just go ahead and turn on 35th Street and get into the bike lane here.
That's fine with me.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
it's your call, man.
yeah, let's do that. Because I don't need more audio of cars behind us. Like, that just gets boring. Yeah, so then there's this other bike show. It's called The Bike Show.
Yeah.
And it's on Resonance FM in London. And Jack something is the host name. He's been doing it for about 15 years. It's actually a bike show on a radio station, like a community arts radio station, kind of like WHRO.
Yeah.
And so he's kind of British about it, and so he'll do like a season, and he'll be running from like May until October, or January through March, and he'll just do like a run of like 3 or 5 or 12 episodes, and then he's done for that season. And so he'll like go on like big bike tours and bring it along. You know, he'll take it to critical mass. I think there was even a crossover episode between Bikescape and the Bike Show at one point. I think that's how I found out about the Bike Show. I was like, wow!
Oh, okay.
And he would always have like music about bikes in the show. And the interviews, he would do interviews with people on the road like this.
While he's riding his bike and stuff.
While they were riding their bikes, yeah. He would do like voiceovers where it would just be him like, it's 3 a.m. I'm cold and wet in the Black Mountains of Wales.
He's riding his bike.
Yeah, riding his bike. He's like, I haven't slept.
3 a.m.
Well, it'd be like, I was awake, and then the river started rising, and I had to move everything up.
Is this man surviving?
Yeah, he is. I mean, at times, you know, but then, you know, he's interviewed like Eddie Maersk, Alex Brompton, Gary Fisher, bike mechanics, and just a whole bunch of really interesting folks.
Yeah.
And I like his show. And Radiolab, I really love Radiolab and 99% Invisible. What they do with audio storytelling. I mean, This American Life, I like This American Life. Listening to those where they're taking a combination of interviews and field recordings and background music and maybe some, you know,
It brings you to where you are, right?
yeah, post-production effects and wrapping those all together. We got it. But I mean, those are, you know, I like those for some things, like, you know, like Fresh Air. I love that. And I was listening to an episode of Radiolab recently where they were given like this Bad News Bears assignment. So they either had to do they're given like 10 days to produce a story, and it had to either be about contemporary bad news that came out during that 10-day spread, or bears. Right, because they were like feeling like they were just like getting into this stuff that was just like too much navel gazing and too much stuff where they were just talking and they were like, no, let's be more topical.
Okay,
And-
kept it current.
Right, and so then they ended up like they did one story about the bear statues in New Bern, North Carolina, that were floating away during the hurricane that came through in the fall. Yeah.
I didn't even hear about that. Okay,
Yeah,
so that's why they
New
do
Bern
it.
is Bern means bear in German.
Okay.
So just like Norfolk has mermaids,
Yeah.
New Bern has
A bunch
bears.
of bears. Okay.
Right, and so when the floodwaters came in, these fiberglass bears just started like floating around town, dragging the concrete mounds behind them.
Really?
Yeah, because concrete loses half its weight in water. It has a lot of air in it, so it floats.
Okay.
Well, it doesn't float. It's less heavy.
Okay, yeah. Man.
And then they were, yeah. So Radiolab's thing was like they were like, and you might if you have in studio recordings, there must be 2 people in the room. They're like, we don't want monologues. No more monologues, guys.
Yeah.
No more
I don't
navel
listen to
gazing.
any podcast where it's one guy talking like that.
Yeah.
Plan on, like, do you have any
Probably by
idea
the-
when you're gonna start releasing these things? or-
Probably April.
Okay.
I might try and-
How many do you have so far?
I've done, I think, about 8 or 10 interviews, I want to say. I'm not entirely positive. I'd have to go back and count, but probably 8. Yeah, and mostly it's just me riding with people and just asking them about, their bike. I
Yeah.
think once we get up here, once we get to Powhatan, I think we're gonna catch some wind shadow, and we shouldn't have as much wind noise.
Is it mostly people you meet on your like your bike tour jobs and stuff?
Yeah, and like friends that I've been riding and working with them for,
Is there a big community in here?
years.
Where we live?
Say again?
Is there a big community where we live here of
Oh, jeez.
Like
Yeah, there
bikers?
is. Yeah, I mean, for 10 years now, we've been we've been working with an organization called Bike Norfolk, and they're a non-profit dedicated to making Norfolk a more bike-friendly community.
Yeah.
And so I've been working with them. There used to be another group called Tidewater Bicycle Association that was real big. They've folded. They were very much about suburban recreational riders. And once Facebook came along, there wasn't really that much of a need to have these, printed monthly newsletters that told you which shops to go to for group rides, because you could just find that on Facebook, Many of the Virginia state champions in road and mountain biking and cyclocross are from here in Hampton Roads. And it's I don't have any evidence for this, but the theory is that because the climate is so temperate here, you can train all through the year. So, like the guys from Virginia Beach will drive out to Harrisonburg and go do hill climb races and beat the guys who live out there.
Just because they can ride year round.
Yeah. I mean, those guys aren't riding as much. You'd think
right
they'd be like,
they can't be riding that.
Yeah.
Snowy one.
But then the other thing is that, especially for the organized group rides around here, you have to be able to hang. Like you
I
can't.
bet. That's the thing.
And if you get dropped off the back,
They're not gonna
you're
wait.
toast.
Yeah. Why would they
Some of them will wait, but you have to know what you're doing when you go out there. And I
In
just
terms
got
of the route and stuff? or
not the
what?
route, but you need to be able to know your own limits and how far you can push it.
Yeah.
And also be able to ride in a tight group. You need to be able to ride in a peloton. You need to be able to ride in a pace line. And if you can't do that, you're going to be a danger to yourself and a danger to the people who are around you.
Yeah.
And I've seen inexperienced people take down riders. I've ridden my bike over them because they screwed up in front of me in the pace line. I was drafting off of a guy, and we were riding through this area where they put out these dots in the road, these speed reflector dots, to slow people down in a particular section. And he didn't call the dots, and I was riding 2 feet from his rear wheel, and so he just put his bike around it, and by the time I saw it coming, there was nothing I could do, and I just hit that on my tiny little skinny tire and just watched it go and I dented the rim, and
Were there people behind y'all that also wrecked?
No, because I think what had happened was we had gotten separated from the main group at a light, and I had said, okay, I'll hang back with you.
Yeah.
And I think I had been pulling on this long run, and there was like nothing happening. And then after we had gone like over the bridge, I said, okay, you get in front now, you know, or, you know, he had volunteered, like, hey man, that was a great pull, let me take it for a while. Okay.
Yeah.
You know, and then he didn't call it. Or there was like another time I've seen, this guy was in the pace line. We were going around the airport, on the road that goes around the perimeter of the airport.
You were biking it?
Yeah,
Oh,
not on the
fine
outside
bike.
of it, not inside the airport,
Yeah.
but on the outside. But that's a really nice place to bike out here.
Okay.
And we were going around that, and somebody twitched and jerked, and the next rider back had to twitch and jerk even more, and she ended up veering to the right and going off the road and crashed in the soft grass. Like it was a day like today when the grass is just like total mud, you know.
Yeah.
And so she had no traction and really high pressure skinny tires. So she just, and she like, her finger was pointed back at, you know, she dislocated her finger and broken it backwards
Damn.
when she landed. Yeah, so.
You gotta know what's up. when
You
try to
gotta-
join
yeah,
the
and-
group, right? See, I don't do that. I ride solo.
Right,
Every
and
time.
there's something to be said for that, you know? Riding solo is good. All right, let's see, we're coming up on bowling. So let's go ahead and take a right. There's no sense in going back up to Magnolia.
Yeah, no, I just put in my music and just cruise myself.
See, that's what I love, getting away on my bike and doing that, and especially during Jimmy John's. Like put in the earbuds, just ride.
Oh, dude, you're on your own. You don't gotta
Yeah.
listen to no one. This is one of the best jobs I've had, except when there's a monsoon.
Right.
Oh, dude, you gotta be in there. You gotta be out there. There's no.
Yeah, you don't.
Can't get in your car. We don't have insurance for it. So you're out there. Like literally, I tell my friends, I haven't played any sporting event. I haven't done any type of work in the type of weather I deliver. in
Right.
Jimmy John's.
Yeah, because
But-
you're riding the whole day long. I know. I mean, it's.
Oh yeah, I started riding at 10:30. We actually got 2 orders before 11.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah, so it was a good day. Yeah, once you get orders before 11,
Yeah.
you're good. You go. Yeah,
Yeah, I was a little frustrated to be coming in late today, but
it's all right.
it worked out fine. I came in there and I was like, I had my pick of 6 orders. Like, which ones do I want to take?
Oh,
It's like-
dude, I didn't even see you till like 1 o'clock.
I know. We were both going bing, 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 bing.
Yeah. See, and that's what makes this job cool. You get your miles in and you get paid for it.
Exactly. That's what I keep telling people. I'm like, this is a fun job.
Yeah.
I'm like,
The only other job that compares for me is when I worked at a bar on the ocean front.
right.
But, you know, you got to get out of that. Staying to work till 3 a.m.
I can't.
I grew out of that quick. That gets old.
Yeah, I was working a rickshaw job where on the weekends the owner wanted us to be out there until 2 a.m. when the bars closed,
Yeah.
which meant I wasn't
You're
getting
right.
home until 3 a.m. I wasn't getting to sleep until 4.
Yeah.
I'm like,
It gets old.
and there'd be times when I wouldn't be making any money. I'd be like, why am I out here
So
doing
you're
this?
wasting your time.
Yeah, I'm like, I'm cold, I'm tired, and I'm broke. I've spent more money on food than I
Yeah.
have riding.
What do you
Let's
think,
cut
Ryan?
through in front of Rollins Hall.
All right. But you only do this for the school year, don't you?
Well, that's all I've done so far. I've always, my summers I've spent in Alaska, so
That sounds
for
10 times
2,
better.
it's pretty awesome. I mean,
I mean, there's no one here in the summer. It's a college
Right.
town. Ain't no one here. Ain't worth it.
Yeah, I don't have a lot of desire to do that, and I think that come summer, let's take a left.
Yeah.
Come summer, I'm pretty sure I'm going to be able to find some type of a guiding job that's going to pay me at least 50% more than this.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not the best paying job, but you know.
No, but I mean the tips make up for it.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean that's the thing. You get out of it once you put in. So
Right.
you come to work and you're busting ass, you're gonna walk out
Right.
with more money than anyone else.
And yeah, and if you show up on time in uniform, for long enough, they give you a little bit of a raise.
Yeah. Exactly.
And then, like, if you can start working as the marketer, they pay you even more as well.
Well, I'm about to graduate here soon, so
Yeah.
this summer I need an internship.
Right.
So I've been looking for that type of stuff.
What are you studying?
Environmental health. The
Okay.
goal is to, help treat like dirty waters, get
Cool.
clean waters. I don't know. The way I see it, the world is, I don't know. We're running out of clean water, and there'll always be business for clean water.
Right. No, I think that's a pretty good plan.
But
Let's roll over to the library.
yeah, let's see if we can
See if we can, get in there. Let's lock up over here.
So that's going to be the end of part 1 in my conversation with Freaky Fast Kyle Goshen. Next week we'll be back with an in-studio portion, although I may end up putting together a little Christmas special for my listeners. We'll have to see how things go. But later on we will be finishing up the conversation with Kyle. Kyle and I snuck into the recording booth of Old Dominion University's Perry Library, and we chatted for another hour about life, the universe, and the meaning of bicycles. And this week, I want to talk about Welcome to Night Vale. Imagine a little desert town where all conspiracy theories are true simultaneously. The sheriff's secret police openly conspire with men in black. There are alien abductions and zombie infestations are an everyday occurrence, and the local radio station reports on all that and the weather. And while you can jump into the Night Vale story at any point, it is also fun to start from the beginning and watch the artistry blossom and mature. Die-hard Night Vale fans can unpack every episode with the complimentary meta podcast called Good Morning Night Vale, where the Night Vale writers, producers, actors, and musicians dissect the sacred text that is Night Vale. And just because I used the term sacred text, I'm going to give a quick shout out to the Harry Potter and the Sacred Text podcast, the best Potterverse podcast of them all. Longchamp by Paul Fournel, from his collection of essays entitled Need for the Bike. That summer, I flatted 23 times. Thanks to inflating and reinflating my tires in the ditches and on the hills, my arms were thicker than my thighs. My tubular tire budget had burst insanely, and the absolutely last one I was willing to buy was in place under my saddle. It was too new, bought on the run, and cheap. It's a general rule that one never takes a new tubular sew-up tire on a ride. It hasn't been stretched, it doesn't have the precious residue of glue, and it's difficult to mount. When, after 20 Ks, my front tire, put on the day before, went flat, thanks to an honest enough thumbtack in the road, I jumped off the bike in a hurry and regretfully put on my last little tire. I put it on without fresh glue, on a badly prepared rim, and it was a big mistake you make because the 24th flat is one too many. Because when you're going fast, suddenly stopping is just not acceptable. Because when the gang keeps riding on and you have to catch up, every second paid for with the pain in your thighs, because flatting is not what a cyclist does. Stretching the new sew up, which always seems too small, putting it on by pressing the wheel against my chest, inflating it, putting the wheel back on, cost me 6 kilometers of chasing, my nose on the handlebars, my eyes filled with sweat, and my right shoulder in a cramp. The badly mounted tire was suffering from a little bulge near the valve, and it made a bumping noise, tock, 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 every time it went around. I felt it in my hands and in my shoulders. Luckily, there were some flat sections on the road, and I had the peloton in my sights. Of course, afraid of being left stranded, I came back to the group too quickly, as one often does when one is anxious to get back in the shelter of the line. I arrived seriously winded at the very moment they decided to pick up the pace. Having to get off my ass exactly when I really needed to recuperate was sheer torture. Nevertheless, I stood up on the pedals, resigned to more quad burn. What was going on at the front seemed to be getting serious, and the more exhausted guys started to fall back. Fighting fire with fire, I decided to go for it and got down in the drops, determined to get back in. Using an old sprinter's technique, I started to rock the bike side to side to come down on the pedals hard, machine-like. A swift glance showed me the 3 bike lengths I still had in front of me, and I put my head down, eyes on the wheel for a better aero effect. So it was, in extreme close-up, that I saw my wheel tilt, the tire shoot off the rim and squash onto the road. Then I saw it twist up and jam behind the fork crown, producing the most brutal deceleration I've ever experienced. I didn't take my eyes off the knot it made at that precise location, and to this day I could still sketch it. I can see it from every angle, since I somersaulted over the handlebars and crashed flat on my back, with the bike and that damn 24th sew-up tire landing on top of me. The road took my breath away, and that was the first time I really drowned in the tar. Each episode I record my own ukulele backing tracks. If you think you recognize a song that I'm playing, send me a message or drop me an email. If you're right, I'll give you a shout out on the podcast and send you a Tell Me About Your Bike limited edition sticker. In last week's episode with my mom, Karen Cheney, I was playing variations on George Harrison's Give Me Love, the old tune Nettleton, better known as Come Thou Fount of Every Blessing, and also American Tune by Paul Simon. Paul Simon reworked Johann Sebastian Bach's chorale O Sacred Head Now Wounded into American Tune, and Bach similarly reworked an earlier song into O Sacred Head Now Wounded. And it just goes to show you there are no new songs, just old songs reworked. And thus, I'll be closing out future episodes with a reworking of the Seeds and Stems Blues by Commander Cody and his Lost Planet Airmen. I've got the down to seeds and stems again blues. I'm going to be sticking to a weekly release schedule for the rest of the year. Please rate, review, and subscribe to Tell Me About Bike on your preferred podcasting platform. Your ratings and reviews mean the world to me and help other people find out about this podcast. Thank you to our Apple Podcast listeners for their positive reviews, including Yellow Lemon Hat, who said, "Tell Me About Your Bike is like NPR on a bike. The descriptions come alive in this podcast, and I felt like I was in Alaska riding down the road." Well, thanks, Yellow Lemon Hat. If you too leave your name in a detailed review, I'll be sure to mention you on a future episode. If you've enjoyed my readings from Paul Fornell's magnificent collection of bicycling essays entitled Need for the Bike, then you can support the artist by buying a copy through the link in the show description. Need for the Bike will make a great gift for any cyclist in your life, be they a dedicated amateur or an undercompensated professional. I recorded this interview with Kyle using a Roland Edirol R09HR digital recorder. It's a little wave recorder that's about as big as 2 iPods stacked on top of each other. My little Edirol is as old as my podcast habit is. I've been using it since 2007. I've strapped it to locomotives and bicycles. I've used it to record my choir at church and my mom in her RV. It's an amazingly versatile little recorder, and it's well worth buying. I especially appreciate the extra envelope I get when I'm recording in 24-bit depth. It's the difference between audio that's good enough to podcast and audio that just makes me wish it was good enough to podcast. So if you're an aspiring audio storyteller, check out the Roland Edirol R09HR. If you believe that bicycles can be vehicles for storytelling, if you want to hear more stories about bikes, the meaning of life, and everything, if this podcast brings value to your life, then please consider supporting Tell Me About Your Bike on Patreon. You can find the Patreon link in the show notes. I'll give you a shout out, and I'll even send you one of our exclusive new Tell Me About Your Bike stickers. If you're wondering what kind of utilitarian rigid 26-inch mountain bikes get me excited, then follow Tell Me About Your Bike on Instagram and Facebook. If you've got a story to tell about the meaning of life, the universe, and bicycling, drop me a line at tellmeaboutyourbike@gmail.com. Let's meet up, go for a spin, make some memories, and record a podcast. So keep the rubber side down and keep on rolling. Cheers, y'all. Popping Potterverse podcasts.